So how do we deal with the components and their hierarchy? So one basic example of how the parent and child hierarchy works. And today we will see one example of parent and child hierarchy transporting the data, how input and output options work. We will see that. So for that, let's create one example. So with parent child hierarchy, input output parameters, how do we configure them, right? Let's take a look. Actually what we are doing in this, we will create one simple component here. Yeah, so let's add some components, right? So in the components, I will add a new component. The component here is ng generate component. So we have a products list component, skip test. So true, okay. So that is the products list component. We are adding it. So in the products list component, we are adding some list. So let's add the products list component in the startup. So this is products list. Okay. Now, once we configured this in the startup is products list. Okay. So let's go to the products list component and add some items into this. So we are selecting here and adding some items. So I just cleaned up this and we will add some items into the products list component. So let's create some data. So public products is a collection. So it is having the product name, some speakers, right? And we have price and some price. So, and we have some photo. We are adding some details. So we are adding some photo here. So photo. And we make sure that we keep some pictures inside them. So that means some assets. So we have some speaker.jpg. We will keep those assets separately. JBL speaker.jpg. Okay, yeah. And we have here another category. We are displaying the category. So category, so and we are defining, it comes under electronics. Okay, this is the data we are having. Similar to this, we will add some details. So let's copy and paste some products. So we are adding some products information. And here, yeah, all these are the products. So let's keep this some like AirPods. And here we have some Nike casuals. So here's some Lee Cooper boot. Yeah. And here we have shirt. So we have jeans, something like this. So some price change. So we configured some price change. Okay, so here we are defining some price. Okay. And here we change the photos as per what we have here. So we generally have the photos of various products in our assets. So we have earpods and we have some shoe, and we have shoe1.jpg, and here we have some shirt and jeans.jpg. Okay, and the categories, they belong to different categories. This is footwear, and this is footwear, and we have fashion. Okay, these are the options defined. Okay, now this is a collection. We have some data here. Okay, we need to display the data. We need to display the data in the products list. So technically, so to display, we will create a view, go to the view, and here just we will add a div. So class container, okay. And here we added some columns, row. So class as a row, okay. So we have a row, and here I'm just adding some text as some heading as some Amazon shopping. Okay, so here we added a span and a class as FA and FA shopping cart. Shopping, yeah, shopping bag. So some bag or basket or cart. Okay. And so here we have so class as text center and the text primary. So primary. Okay. So that is at the top we configured. So let's see the preview here. Yeah. So we are configuring the preview. We are accessing it, and this is the content here. Fine. This is the header we have, and we configured this header. Fine. Okay. Next important is, so we need 2 columns. So in the row, we have to keep 2 columns. So one div, and this class is called 3, and another div, this class is called 9. Okay, right side, I want to display all the products. So to display all the products, so we can keep so 2 and 10 also. Fine. To display all the, because we have some large number of details to display. So we have div and a class. So I'm creating a card deck. So in the card deck, so we are using an ng container. So we are using an ng container. Through ng container, I'm defining an iteration. So ng for, so let item of products collection. I need to generate a card for every product. So class card, and this card will have the details. So we can configure the card header, card footer, and card details. Okay, so here I will just keep the card, and we have a div. This is class as card header. So this is the card header, and in the card header, suppose I'm configuring just an image, src. So image source, actually src. So here the image source comes with yeah, so image source comes with item dot photo field. Yeah, so width and height 100 pixels. So that is the width and height. And just I will put another, so div class. So this is card body. Yeah, card body, and in the card body we have defined some details. In the card body, I want just the product name. So I defined some heading 3. So that is I want item dot name and heading 4, that is item dot, or simply some paragraph. So here item dot price, item dot price. I will just put a currency, so as INR. And this is having class as card title, and this is having class as card subtitle. Okay, so this is the option. That means we are generating a card for every product and displaying in a card deck. Usually it will get all the details and display in this way. It will get all the details and display in this way. So that means we are accessing all the details and display. So that's we configured in this, right? So depending on how you configure the height and width and number of elements, you can span in any way. And this row, we will put style. So margin top. So margin top as some 40 pixel. Okay. So that it will keep this row little bit below the contents. So this is the products related data. All types of products and their information is present here. So now important is like this, the products information is displayed in several pages. The products information is displayed in several pages. And in every page, wherever the products information is displayed, I want a sorting, I want a filtering option. So I want a searching option for these products. We need sorting, filtering, searching options. Searchings, filtering, sorting, I will tell you. Some more points we will discuss, right? Means we will see advanced options like materials, and through them we will try to design more effectively these. As of now, here the point is, wherever the products information is displayed, I want sorting, I want filtering for products. Let's first implement filtering, how we can handle filtering. Not only here, in several locations. Means in another page also I want some products. There also I want filters. Then I need one filter component. So that filter component, pagination component. So different components we can use actually. So generally these type of components, so ready-made, so with a predefined functionality, usually we call these as technically we call these as, actually we call them as widgets actually, widgets. So these are widgets actually. Suppose if you have an awareness of jQuery and all, you jQuery, Bootstrap, if you have used, a lot of widgets are present. For example, we have jQuery UI. So this is the jQuery UI official. Yeah, this is jQuery UI. Suppose you can see, so left side you will see a lot of widgets will be there. So you can see a lot of widgets will be there. You can see we have widgets and we have effects, you have utilities, so many options will be there. For example, there is a widget. So we have a widget like accordion. We have a widget like autocomplete. Usually dialogue like widgets are there. Actually, what is this widgets? What is the purpose of? Or you can see interactions like sortable, filterable. The point is I click on sortable, then it will show the sortable widget here, where I can drag the item and keep at any position. I can drag and keep. Actually, this type of functionality I need wherever I have to display some list of items. Then in every location, we cannot design this functionality. Then what we do, we design it as a widget gadget, and we plug in into our component so that our component can start using it. But according to our components requirements, we can customize those gadgets also. So that is the concept here. That means we want something. You see, right side you have display as grid. So that means you can see it will be displayed as grid. You can drag and you can adjust the contents. You can drag and adjust the content. So technically, so there are so many behaviors actually. These are all gadgets. Actually, the intention is nothing but they are all ready-made components designed. So what is advantage of these components is you can keep them in any location and use them. They are already written with some functionality and they will fit in any concept. That means if you are dealing with the list, you can keep them with the list so that they will work for that list. So that means you similar to that, we have predefined components in our Angular also. We call them Angular materials that you will see in the next session. We will discuss about them after we finish the general components concept. But here I want something like these components. So that means I want a component which can handle filtering of products, and I can use it across various locations. Then what we do is we will design one component. Ng generate component filter. I will create a component called filter. So, and skip test. Okay. I am creating a filter component. Okay. So we have a filter component. Now we will design that filter component. So here I will go to the filter component and I will design the filter component. Usually this filter component have a design and functionality. It will have a design and functionality. So I'm designing the filter component like this. So suppose I'm configuring. So the functionality div, we have style, some margin top as 40 pixel. Okay. And here we are having a heading. So filter products. So that is the component. And here we will just keep a div and with a label. Then we say choose category. And here we will keep a div. This is just like a class as form group. And we will keep here. So a simple option like user can select a category. That means we are giving a select. And select is having option. And option have all. So we have option. You can maintain a list option as electronics. So you can have an option. So option as footwear. And you can have option as fashion. These are the options we have. So class is equal to form control. We designed a filter component. Currently it is just empty. Nothing is there. Functionality, nothing is there here. So it is just an empty one, right? Now we created a component. Our intention of this component is, so we can use that component anywhere. Suppose I want to use in products list. If I want to use in products list, then how you can inject this component into another components? Very simple. We will go to products list and in the left column, I will use app filter. That means we are injecting the filter component here. So that means, so that component is integrated here. You can inject into any component. So that's what yesterday we learned. A component can be injected into any another component just by using its selector. And you can see that now the filter is ready. This example, we tried this type of example, we tried earlier also, but what is difference is earlier we were designing everything in one place. Actually, we designed this filter also in the same component. Due to that, sharing data between these two is easy. But currently, in this current situation, so actually, these are two components, two different components. We have two different components here. That means this belongs to so one component. This belongs to another component. So two different components. Then the challenging is when you choose any option here, how it can filter here. That means we need to send the data here. And the information about here, these details can be sent here also, That means communication between these two components, transporting data from one component to another. That's what we need to manage actually. So technically, that is very important. So here, it will not be a big issue if it is in the same. Why we designed a separate component? Because I want to use this filter across various locations. So then better to keep it as a separate component with separate functionality so that it can work for any situation when dealing with the products. Now, actually, this is the parent, right? And this is the child. This is the child component. So that means we are integrating that into this. Now here, the point is first option here. So presentation is okay. Now, this filter component should able to know, how many electronics are there, how many footwear are there, how many fashion are there, how many products are there. Usually you see websites, when you go here in the filter options, they will show that electronics 4 found, footwear 3 found, fashion 1 found. How many products are there? We want the count here. We want to display the count there. How many electronics, how many footwear, how many fashion options are there? We need to handle them. Actually, that's what we want to display. Remember, inside a drop down, presenting options with proper images. Many times the question comes like, sir, I want an image in drop down. You cannot put an image in drop down, icon in drop down. For that, we need to design a customized drop down. We cannot directly put an image in drop down. For that, we need to create a customized one, right? Customized, I will show you. So initially, so what this filter component should able to know is how many electronics are present, how many footwear are present, fashion. But actually they are not present here. From the parent component, we need to send data to the child. That means now this filter component, let's go to the filter component. So TS, filter component TS, okay. In the filter component TS, here we are declaring some properties. So here we are declaring properties like all. So all products, so is 0, okay. And electronics, or I will simply say all count is 0. Electronics count is 0. Just I'm giving a reasonable name. So and so footwear count is 0 because we don't have them here. So and fashion count is 0 because we don't have them. We don't have them here. But the point is we are expecting them here. From the parent component, we are expecting them here. We exactly don't have them here, but we are expecting them here. So that means from the parent component, we will send that. From the parent component, we will send them. So from the parent, we can send that. So that means now the filter component, these count details I will display in the view. All, how many are there in the square brace? I will just keep here. So all count. Electronics count in the square brace. So here I will define electronics count. And footwear count in the square brace, I will define as footwear count. And here, so in the square brace, so we have in the square brace, we have fashion count. We are configuring this. That means all count, footwear count, fashion count, we are defining them. And currently all are 0. Then you can see that. So here in the list, in the drop-down list, you can see all are 0, 0, 0. That means all 0, electronics 0, footwear 0, fashion 0. Now the information, that means now our component, our filter component is having, our filter component is having 4 properties. Now these properties must able to access value from the parent component. That means in the parent component, we must able to access these properties. Then we already learned that we have to mark them by using at the net input. By using at the net input, we are marking them. And see here, suppose I am writing at the net input. I am configuring at the net input. And I am defining all this. So usually when you configured at the net input and you defined all this technically, so now they must able to access there. That means let's go to the products list. In the products list, app filter is having 4 properties. We are trying to access all count is available. And we are trying to access electronics count. It's not there. That means this is working. This is working only for the first one. So that means in the filter TS, yeah. This is working only for this. Because obviously when you have a semicolon, that means a semicolon is defined. It's a terminator. Okay, suppose I remove the semicolon for all of this and I have the semicolon at the last. Because generally semicolon is not mandatory actually, not mandatory. But still, so here, so we go and save that. We go here and we see here now. So we have electronics count. It's not working. Why? Because this marker technically, because generally when I tell that means input, then generally people ask this question immediately, like, so can I define only one and can I configure here, right? Actually, so you define a marker, then this marker is for every property you define, not combination. So for example, suppose you have an object like reference configuring here, object like reference. Then you can see this, go to definition, right click and go to definition. That means we are going to the definition of that. And actually it is an input. And input is a decorator. And property name, it is expecting only property name as a string. And it can have any value, property name and any value. So you can see that is what the option is. That means it is having 2 options, property name, and its type is string. Its type is string. So that is what it is expecting. The property name type is string and its value can be any type. Suppose I am defining here, all count, and I want to keep some value into it. Suppose I want to define the value into it. So this is not suitable for this input operation because it is having 2, but it is having 2 and it can use for 2 arguments only. So when it is used as a class for implementation, that means if you create a type of input, you can manage that. Currently, if you are not configuring as a type of input, then that means I'm saying that you can create a class and that class type can be this input. So that means you can create an object. So that means I'm saying that you can create an object We can create an object. This object will be using of that input type. If it is using input type, then it can configure this. In that we can configure the properties multiple and you can define them. But anyhow, whatever the properties you configured in this input, suppose so a count is a property and it is having 0. That is the value you define. And you configured this. You configured this as a string. You configured this as a string, and you need to configure all other options also. So, but important, this is a contract. Contract means, so you are implementing the contract. You have to implement all the properties and configure all the properties. So that means technically multiple options cannot be directly applied on input. Input is a marker which will work for every element individually. Even though it supports an option for configuring a property and value, you cannot directly implement. So you have to have a extensibility. You have to extend your class, and that means you have to create a class, extend that input class, add the functionality and define. Generally in real world development process, if we have so many properties to configure, we use that technique, which I will tell you in the next level. We will discuss in the next level. So as of now, if anyone asks like, do I need to configure input for every item? Initially, yes. Otherwise, it will work only for the first one, If you want for multiple, then you can implement this input class. You can extend that input class and define your custom input and use that custom input as a marker that you will see in the next levels, right? So as of now, at the current level, what you have to do now is, you know that now you have to use that input for every. So that means we need to configure that input, for every property. We need to define that input. Every property requires a configuration for input. Okay, that means we are defining input for all of them. Why we are configuring input? Because they must be accessible here. Now all are accessible here. That means we have all count. So we have electronics count, we have footwear count, and we have fashion count. So we can send values to them. Now the point is, they are expecting value. We have to send value into them. So that means all count is expecting the total count of all products. So that is very simple. All count, how I can send? All count I can send by using products.length. Products.length will send all count. That means how many products are there, it will send all count. So in that case, you can see that. So all products, how many? That value is coming here. So 6, it is working fine. That means the collection of all products, that means how many products are there count, we are sending into this component. From parent component, we are sending some data into the child component, Now we need to send electronics count here. Actually, so electronics count, how we can send the electronics count? That means we need to calculate. So we need to calculate, means we need to find out how many products belongs to the category called electronics. And we need to return that length. Actually, you need an expression for that. Generally, I'm trying expression here. So I'm using products. You already learned how to know how many products are present belonging to electronics category. You can use filter. So we can use filter. And products.filter based on X implies X dot. So we have category. Filter the products based on the category electronics. After filtering the products based on the category electronics. So find means it will get all electronics, get the length of those products and display. That's what we are doing. That means find all electronic products and get the length of those products and display. But remember, already we learned that in a property binding, expressions are not allowed. Then what you have to do now? So technically what I have to do, so if it is an attribute Brian, so interpolation technique, then expression is allowed. Through interpolation, expression is allowed. Yesterday we saw that we cannot use attribute. This is a property, and you can use a property binding technique on that. Then it will not allow any expression here. It will not allow any expression. Interpolation is not allowed. Then what you have to do, you have to use this expression. You have to use this expression, get the value, and use that value here. Don't use any expression here now. That means you cannot use any expression here. So then what I will do now, in the products list component, I will create electronics count. And how do we get the electronics count? So we have products. So this dot products dot filter. So X implies X dot category is matching with electronics. If it is matching with electronics, then get the length and store it. That's how we do. That means now this is a property. Electronics count is a property which contains the count of electronic products. And similarly, we have other option. I will simply copy and paste this now. So, and copy, yeah, and paste this. And I need two other options. That is footwear count. All count is already sent. So footwear count. So we have fashion count. And here the details based on, so this is footwear and this is based on fashion. So fashion. Okay. That means we are finding out how many electronic products are there and counting them and returning their length. So these are the properties which contains electronics count, footwear count, fashion count, which we will send to our child component. Electronics count gets the value from electronics count. Footwear, I given the same names. Footwear count, get the value from footwear count. But this is parent element, this is child element property. And fashion count, it will get the value from fashion count. Then you can see that finally all the values are updated here. And you can see the drop down gets the information about all of them. That means how many electronics are there, how many footwear are there, how many fashion are there, it will display them. Now comes, that means in this, what you understood. So how we can transport data from there. That means this is the point. And in this, what we have done is we transported the data from the parent component to the child component. In the child component to collect the data, we have some properties which are marked with input. Now comes the biggest part here. That means the complex thing here. The complex thing is now when user selects any category, that category name should be passed to parent component. This is important. That means from the child component, you need to emit the category name. You need to emit the category name they selected, which will be accessed and used in our products list. So products list should able to access the value from this filter component. Parent to child sending data is very simple. We have sent it very easily. We just need an input property there. We can send it. But from child to parent, how you will send a value here, this is important. So now how we can send a value? So we can emit a value. Usually we need an emitter. And very important is when it should emit the value. It should emit the value when user is changing the drop-down option. When user is changing the drop-down option, it should emit value. Okay, now a lot of work is there here. So what we need to do now is technically, I need something to emit value. Now, so I need something to emit value from the filter component. So go to filter component. In filter component, I need something to emit value. If you want to emit value, then I will create here public. So we will create here public. That means we need to emit the value. Yes, we need to use a public, and here I will write as emit category name. Emit category name. So we are writing emit category name. Emit category name. We need an emit category name. Okay, emit category name. Now, how it can emit any value? Any property. So technically, any property can emit a value. Any property can emit a value by implementing an event emitter. Any property can emit value by using an event emitter. Event emitter is present in different libraries, but we need an event emitter from Angular core library. That means actually Angular core library, in the Angular core library, so here, so input is there. We use event emitter class. This is event emitter. If you want this property not to accept value, to emit value, then you have to configure this as type event emitter. You have to configure this type as event emitter. That means we have to use event emitter. This is event emitter. So we have to configure this as event emitter. That is event emitter. And when you define as event emitter should know what type of value you want to emit. That means event emitter requires the type of value you want to emit. You have to tell the type. You can emit any type of value, string type, number type, Boolean type, any type of value. Currently, category name is a string type. Then event emitter uses a string, a generic type. Event emitter is a generic type which will emit the value. What type of value it can emit? Currently, this property can emit any value. What type of value it can emit? So it can emit string type value currently. So actually event emitter can emit any type of value. It can emit a Boolean value. It can emit a number. Okay, that emitted value must be stored in the memory so that it can be accessed and used. That means you need to allocate a memory for this emitter. That means new event emitter. Event emitter, what type of value to be allocated to store and handle a string type. This is how we need to configure. So why you are using new? It's a dynamic memory allocator. You are using a dynamic memory allocator to catch that emitted value and store that emitted value in the memory. Okay, so that means event emitter is responsible for emitting the value. But whatever the value it emits, it can be used only in this component. But I want this value to emit outside this current scope, outside the current scope. Then we have to mark it by using output. We have to mark it by using output. If you mark it by using output, then it will able to emit this value. It will able to emit this value outside this component. Outside this component. That's what yesterday I showed you. Form has some value. I want to display those values outside the form. Then we have an output element there. So yesterday we saw one HTML thing. So here, why we marked it as output? Because this property have to emit a value outside this scope. Why they are input above? Because they have to get the value. This has to emit the value. Okay, that is fine. Now the question is, when it should emit the value and which value it should emit, you have to tell. That means here now two questions are there. When it should emit value, what value it should emit. So two things you have to tell. When it should emit value, what value it has to emit. So that means it should emit the value. Usually it should emit the value when category is changed. That means we will write a method. That means on category changed, on category changed is a method. On category changed is a method. on this particular method, it should emit this value. How it can emit the value? This dot. So emit category name, and it should emit which value it should emit. You have to tell emit which value to emit. You have to tell that value. So it should emit the value that you have selected from drop down. It should emit the value you selected from drop down. That means selected category name must be emitted. Selected category name must be emitted. So what I will do is I will create a property here. So public selected category name is currently all. Selected category name is all. Now this value should be emitted. That means this dot selected category name. That means whenever this function is called, automatically it will emit the category name. Currently selected category name contains all, but it should contain the name of the category that you selected in dropdown. It should contain the name of category that you have selected in dropdown. Then we have to bind this with the dropdown. How to bind with the dropdown we already know. We will use a two-way binding technique, NG model. So we will bind with selected category name. That means these values, that means they should have value now. So let's put a value. This value is all, this value is electronics, this value is footwear, and this value is fashion. So this value is fashion. That means these values are stored in selected category name. So they stored in selected category name. When they should be updated, on change, they should be updated. On change, what we will do now, we will call a method called on category change. Yeah, that means now what happens is whenever user changes the category, this event will fire up. That means this event will fire up. This method will fire up. What that method will do? It will emit the value outside this scope by using an event emitter. By using an event emitter, it will emit the value outside the scope. Which value it will emit? The value of selected category. That means selected category name is emitted. Selected category name is changing according to category. When user selects electronics, then it will emit electronics. When user selects footwear, it will emit footwear. That means now you have your own event emitter. You have your own event emitter. Now see here. So emit category name is an event. So remember, this is an event now. You created as a property, but it is now as an event. You configured as an event name. This event, how it becomes an event? By implementing event emitter. And what this event emitter can do, it can emit the value. That means our filter component is having an event called emit category name. Now, when you use that event, it will call this function and it will emit the selected category name. So that is the basic hierarchy. This is very little bit complex to understand, right? So that is the basic hierarchy actually, how it actually happens. That means how it emits the value, how you can access the value, which value to emit. You can emit any type of value. Currently we are emitting string. Okay, that means now what we have to do, everything is ready. The emitted value should be collected here. The emitted value should be collected here. That means now app filter is having a custom event. So events are written with the parenthesis. You see, we have a emit category name as event. This is our custom event. What it can emit? It can emit the category name. So event have a property now. So it can emit the category name. So that emitted category name should be collected in our products list. So in the products list, we will create a property called So emitted, so collect, so or simply category name. We will collect the category name. Category name. Category name is initially here all. Category name is initially all, but this category name, this category name will be updated according to which category it has emitted. So which category it has emitted. That means now what we have to do in our products list. Technically, in the products list, what we have to do is we have to write a method. The method is public on filter category changed. On filter category changed, what should happen? On filter category changed, what should happen? On filter category changed. So it should collect the category name. So it should collect the category name. Category name. It should collect the category name and it should apply the category name to this category name. That means this dot category name is equal to the category name you have passed as parameter. Now the point is, so we have a method called on filter category changed. On filter category changed, we will collect the category name emitted and we will apply to the local variable. You will apply to the local property. This is the property of the products list. That means now this is an event. How event emits the value? Already you written it. So that means which method it has to call? On filter category changed method it should call. Now into this method, we need to pass the event related properties. Event means values, whatever event values are there, we need to pass into it. This is, remember, emit category name is a custom event. And whatever the value it is having, we need to pass that into this method. Event related values, how you will pass into a method? By using $event. That means our custom event is also using this $event. Through this $event, we can send the value of this event. And currently this event is having only one value. What is that value? Category name. That category name will be sent into this method. And that category name is collected in that method. And it is applied to the local category name property. Local category name property. So this category name property is having the name of the category which is selected in our filter product component. In our filter component. In filter component, whatever the category is selected, it is emitted. That emitted category is stored in this reference. And now this contains the category name coming from the child component, emitted from the child component. Now, based on that, we need to filter this. That means I will put here card. Already we have a container. We will put the card with an condition. So ng if. I don't want to display. So here I want to display ng if. So what is the condition to configure the if? The condition for configuring the if is very simple. So that means if selected category, that means we have ng if, we are defining. So selected category or we have that category name. Yeah. If category name is equal to all, if category name is equal to all, or if category name is matching with the item dot category, display only those products. That means if category name is all, or if the category name is matching with any category coming from that particular property, then display only those details. So how we can use a condition in an iteration already we learned. Only the point is, this time this category name is coming from some other component through an event emitter. That means our filter component is having its own event now. When I change it, I select electronics, and that electronics category name is emitted, which is collected in the products list, and products list will display only those category related products. And I am selecting here, so footwear, it will get only footwear related products. I'm selecting fashion. It will display only fashion related products. And I'm selecting all. It should display all products. That means we are choosing that. We are choosing that. And it is displaying those. It is displaying those. You can use anything. You can use a radio. You can use checkbox. You can use drop down. Just only the point is you need to define an event customized here. So that means this is not so simple. So it is too complex. Actually, handling custom events, working with custom events at experience level, this is a regular question. This is a regular question asked, how you handle the app options and define the items. So obviously, when you are using ng if, what will happen, Mr. Anil? Why you talk about a new concept, right? You are using ng if. If you are using ng if, what will happen? You already learned, right? Everybody will tell in our sessions, right? In our class, whoever attending ng if, then what is your question then? It is irrelevant, right? Right. Yeah, I will explain. I know that, right? So I have explained all this to you detailedly, but I know that in one attempt, you are not capable of understanding this complete approach. I know now. So I will explain one more time. So the complete process. I will write step-by-step process, how we have done, because I know your abilities now, right? So I know that 99%. So you will be in a confused state, right? Right? You will be in a confused state. That's the reason I will explain one more time the process, how it happens with a similar type of approach. Then you will get more clarity if you listen to this one more time, understanding this. Then based on that, we can go further, right? I will explain this one more time, no problem, right? Step-by-step process. I just showed you the concept, how the custom events are configured. That means our component is having a custom event, how it works, how we are transporting the data from one component to another component here by using input and output properties. There are several other techniques also, which we will see later. We will discuss about that. How do we handle this? So I am posting this example currently in your classroom, but I will explain one more time tomorrow. So with a simple scenario, then you will get more clarity and you will understand, right? You will understand about that. So no problem. Tomorrow I will explain again step-by-step process. And after explaining that, you can understand how it happens, huh? Right? So then tomorrow we will continue this. So tomorrow we will see more options about this. Okay, right?